This is Dave Gregor from the band Morta Skuld, and you're listening to Jet on the Metal Messiah Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight we have with us a special guest. We have founding member, guitar and vocalist of the metal band Morta Skuld with us. We have Dave Gregor. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So Dave, prior to Morta Skuld, what were you doing?
Oh, boy. Well, I was in the Marine Corps before I actually formed the band.
Oh.
So, yeah, I was in the Marines, and I always wanted to be in a band, always. But I thought, regular jobs weren't cutting it for me. You know, like most of us musicians, we have a hard time with a regular job due to what we do. And I thought, hey, Marine Corps, structure, and I went in and I found out, like, wow, I really don't like this. So when my time came to exit, I came out and just right away, just beeline to, learning how to play guitar. And I actually didn't learn. I was probably about almost 20 when I started playing. So much later than most.
So, when did you start taking an interest in metal music, and how important was it in your life prior to forming Morta Skuld?
Well, I grew up in, the mid-'60s. So, music was definitely different then. And, of course, you get in your 70s era, which I really wasn't fond of. But the 80s, I just really, a lot of the stuff that we all grew, radio, Styx and Journey and Foreigner and Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath and Ozzy's solo career were the my two biggest favorites. And back then, you had New Wave and all this different stuff. So it was a really cool time. But I just remember, I heard Anthrax for the first time. I was like, wow, these guys are heavy, and then, of course, everybody has heard Metallica. I mean, if you haven't, then you're living under a rock. But, their first couple albums, like, wow, what is this? My mind was just blown, and it just kind of made me want to seek out heavier music. And at that time, there was no internet, so you had to go to your local record stores, and you had to look through bins and bins of records, which was always fun. I kind of miss those days. I'm not in the vinyl anymore, but I miss those days. But regardless, you had to look, you kind of had to search your bands out and find them. And so I would just come up on these really obscure, bands, like some people don't know that Billy Sheehan was in Talus. That was like his solo kind of band. And that was one of the earlier things he was on, and just real obscure stuff. And then I started stumbling onto hardcore, the MOD and the SOD. And I was like, this stuff is so heavy, and it just, I don't know, I can't speak for other musicians, but I know me, I came from a really horrible upbringing, physically, mentally, whatever you want to say. And music to me was always an escape. A lot of people went to drugs or booze. I like my beer, don't get me wrong. But I went to music. And I just drowned in myself in music. And I was just like, I'm going to be a singer. And I think I did some talent show or something like that, and froze, couldn't even get a word out. It was the worst experience. So my career in singing that way was really drawn very short, but I just kept kind of, my passion was just a testament too. Oh my God, New World Order, what the hell was that? Nuclear Assault, Game Over, gee whiz, all these bands, and they're just heavy and fast. And, I just noticed that all the talent levels were so different. You had somebody like Testament who were very proficient at their guitars, and then you had another band, maybe not so much, but it just was heavy, and it just inspired me to go I need to learn how to play somehow. You know what I mean?
And so you started the band in 1990. So you guys been around for well over 25 years. So tell us about when you first formed the band and what you kind of at the time wished to accomplish with it.
Well, at the time, it was actually 89. I mean, officially 90, but my concept goes back to 89. I just, like I said, listening to Testament and hearing that just heavy, those guitars are just so heavy. I'm like, okay, we got to sound like this, but maybe we could try to do, some of the crossover stuff. So that was my original, thought of the band at that point. And the band actually got to a certain point that, we kind of morphed from this hardcore crossover, of course, going through members, time and time again. I think the accomplishment of the band was just to be heavy, heavy and raw, but at the same point be a live band, if that makes any sense.
It does. And what was the metal scene like in Milwaukee? Is that where you were at when you first started out?
Yes. The scene was pretty damn good. I mean, it was very vibrant. You know, now mind you, I had stumbled into this thing we call death metal. I never had any concept of really what it was. And one day I was working at a record store, and my buddy's like, hey man, check out this cassette tape, Leprosy by Death. And I noticed that the scene at that time, there was like that mix. It was a mix of metal, mix of crossover. But basically, when you asked me how the scene was, everybody went to everybody's show. That's the first thing. Everybody went to everybody's show, whether you were in bands or not in bands. Everybody kind of supported each other. And the thing back then is bands didn't play out as often. So we didn't really step on each other's toes a lot, So basically, you didn't have to worry about there's 4 shows going on tonight at the same time. Who's going to go to what. So I feel like the bands back then, I feel like we're a little bit more respectful of so-and-so's playing on that side of town. We're going to play the next weekend or something like that. But it was thriving. I mean, people were, at the time cassette tapes and, you're selling 500, 600 cassette tapes and, you think you're a millionaire or something, at $5 a pop. But the scene was just really, really good. And there's just a lot of creativity going on in 1990, especially.
And so what were some of the early days like for your band, Dave? I mean, what were some of the earlier shows you were playing in, like somebody's basement or something? I mean, what were some of the early shows?
Well, we started off one of our very first shows. We started off at a dance studio. An actual dance studio, and he had a little stage and all that. And that was one of our first gigs, and we thought, hey, this is great. And then we moved up to bowling alleys and halls. Halls were very, if you had a bowling alley and they had a hall, halls were really, really big to set up shows. A lot of your regular venues weren't there yet. They were hosting mainstream acts or just heavier thrash and stuff. But, if you wanted death metal or hardcore punk, it was always in the halls. I mean, we play all these weird dance studios and bowling alleys and halls. And then, eventually Metal Fest came around, and that changed a lot for us. That really changed a lot for us. We're like, whoa, we're in a major venue. This is like a major show. We're going out at 9:15 a.m. and we can play 2 songs. This is awesome.
So Dave, tell us then, what led up to, you guys breaking up, and then the formation of MS2 and 9mm Solution, and your decisions to bring back Morta Skuld.
Sure. Morta Skuld was doing pretty good in 97, 98. We had just released Surface, and we had just done probably one of the biggest shows besides a Metal Fest. We opened for Slayer, and we were just we were riding pretty high. Things were going good. We basically got an offer from Jack Koshik, who ran the Metal Fest, and said, hey, I'll give you this tour, X amount of days. Slayer's the first gig, we're getting paid. I'm like, this is awesome. Next day was with, I think, supporting 6 Feet Under, and then another day was supporting Master, and we were like, dude, this is awesome. And the first date was Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and we had never heard of that. And, us being from up in Wisconsin, I mean, it gets humid up here, but yeah, Florida gets I can't even describe it. But I don't know why people live there, but I can't. And we're in air conditioning when I'm saying this. You know what I'm saying? So we're sitting inside an air conditioned van, and I'm still sweating. But we get down there, and the drummer decides, hey, doesn't decide to get sick, but he gets sick. And he kind of refused to play. So, we took him to the hospital, and we got him all juiced up, came back. Some fans, it wasn't a lot, maybe 10, 15 people there, but I was like, dude, let's just play, and they're begging us for one song. And I'm like, dude, just come on, one song. He's like, nope. I'm like, okay, fine. So we go back to the hotel. We think we're going to chalk this up as a situation. We're going to move on to the next gig. Well, he just says, dude, I'm out. I want to go home. We're like, what? So we literally didn't get to do nothing and had to turn around, drive him home to just kind of lose everything. And at that point, Jason Hellman was the bass player at the time, and he had been with me from day one. We tried to find drummers. We tried. And it was at that age where, Nirvana was coming in, and I'm not dissing those bands, but just all that grunge was coming in. It was driving out all the metal and the death metal, and nobody wanted to play that way anymore. All of a sudden, everybody wanted to, be in a band called Pearl Jam. And I was just like, come on, guys. So, somebody's got to want to play fast. And we just really couldn't find anybody. So, Jason decided to, I think he joined like one or two different local bands in town. And I tried to audition for a couple guys and just kind of realized I'm kind of like I marched to my own drum. And I was like, I just got to do something. I just got to do something that's me. So I kind of started like writing something just different, really not death metal, just kind of like in between. And I thought I'm an experiment. I started listening to like a lot of new metal bands like Primer 55 and Mushroomhead and Slipknot and all those guys. And I was like, wow, Static X, holy crap. These guys are still heavy, but yet there's not a lot of technical stuff going on. I shouldn't say it with Slipknot, because Slipknot's guitar parts, some of those parts of my head spins when I see what the hell they do. So that's a little different story. But with a lot of the other bands, more mainstream and more new metal, the guitaring really wasn't, super difficult. So like I said, I'm thinking maybe something like that. So I started kind of just writing my own tunes and this and that, and people on the street were like, Morta Skuld, Morta Skuld, Morta Skuld. And I'm kind of like, no, dude, the band's, gone, and no. And so I didn't know what to call the band. I really didn't. So, somebody gave me the idea, like 2.0, how about MS2? And I was like, sure, I'll try it, and, threw spaghetti against the wall, and it didn't stick. People were like kind of pissed because when they came, they thought they were getting a 2.0 Morta Skuld, and they weren't. And it was only me in the band too. I didn't have another guitar player, so it was just me, bass, drums, and then I sang, or did vocals, whatever you want to look at it. I kind of did that for a little while, and I cut this 3-song demo, and pretty much arranged everything, wrote all the songs and this and that, and we played a few shows. We did a Chuck Schuldiner tribute, benefit show we did, and everything else. But yeah, people were confused. They were real confused. Like, who are these guys? Who the hell are these guys? So we did that for a little while, and of course, you have member changes. Member change came along, and we added we found this singer, and this guy sounded like one of the dudes from Mushroomhead, and I was like, this guy is awesome. So we get this guy, he auditions, right? Doesn't look like anything though. He's super lanky. He's he's like one of those Tour de France cyclist guys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Seriously. He did like a couple of those races, and I was like, what the hell, But he didn't look the part, very short hair, glasses, very prim and proper, shirt tucked in with the belt. And I'm like, dude, you can't play like that live. I was like, I'm sorry, dude, So anyways, long story short, we did a couple of shows, wrote some stuff with him, recorded a demo, did some shows, and then he really couldn't sing, or stamina-wise. Mm-hmm. He couldn't do more than like 2 or 3 songs, and that was kind of hurting us and stuff, so he got frustrated and quit. We brought in another cat from a local band, and he started singing with us. We're like, wow, like this guy's got some kind of chops, and and it kind of made what I was doing at that time actually form into become what was 9mm Solution. And that band just, I don't know, that band started doing really well, and we did 2 albums, and we went on a tour, which did pretty good. And then at that point, I had gotten a new job. I couldn't tour very much. And I don't know, the label we were on at the time, I think it was Rock Ridge, he just kind of got a little salty at us. And I was kind of like, well, you're not giving us any money. You know what I mean? You're not giving us any money to tour. We gave you the record. It was like you didn't pay anything for the record. So, I don't know, they were kind of salty, but they didn't appreciate the fact that we just weren't going out again. So, the band was kind of frustrated too. We had done a bunch of supporting gigs for Five Finger Death Punch at that time, and things were going pretty good. And then it was like, hey, also I was at a time in my life I was going for custody of my kids, so a couple little different things going on. But in the end, it didn't work out. Everybody wanted to kind of go do their own thing, so that kind of broke up. Leading into the second half is basically Eric Reif, who manages the Deaf Estate, Deaf, and back in the day when we first started out, he was managing us and a bunch of other locals in town. And he had talked to me and said, hey, those first 2 demos, Glory, Departure, Prolong the Agony, can I get those on, can I get a copy of those? And I says, I only got the cassette tape copies, not a CD, but so I know my buddy makes, he'll throw it on CD for us. Okay, cool. So I throw it on CD, ship it off to Canada. He goes, man, it'd really be cool if this, if we could kind of clean it up a little bit, as far as back then volumes were different, recordings, you recorded on tape. So yeah, no problem. So he says, I'll send you up some money and you go in the studio and, see what you can do. And, between me and the drummer at that time that was on the Prolonging the Agony demo, me and him we just went back in the studio like 2 or 3 times, because every time we would come out, we were like, oh crap, we found the master. Oh crap, we found this. Oh crap. So we kind of went in over like a 2 or 3 month period, like 2 or 3 times to finally we're like, okay, we're here. We got all the weird crap worked out. There's some noise in this. We got that taken care of, the remastered. And then we were like, yeah, okay. So we sent it off to him, and he's like, you know what? He goes, dude, we should put this out, on Relapse, because he does all the deaf stuff through Relapse. And I says, what do you mean? And he goes, yeah, just put it out like the demo years. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, why don't we add a couple other demo tracks that never got released? We did a track called Eternal Suffering. It's called Through the Eyes of Death, the Relapse release. And it's basically our first 2 demos and then a couple of other unreleased songs. And one of those songs was actually supposed to be on an earache sampler that never made it. So we were like, okay, and then we did a cover of Metal Church, and we thought, well, let's throw that on there too, So they threw that on there, and then they released it, and basically he's like, I'm still looking for members for 9mm Solution to get back together. And Harry's kind of like, well, when are you getting the band back together? And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, no, dude, you should perform that stuff. I said, come on, dude, you're kidding. Ain't nobody want to hear that, dude. And he's like, dude, you should do it. So I was like, nah, dude, I'm not doing it. And this went on for probably almost a year. And then he's like, and then I said, and I told him, I said, right before it happened, I said, let's do a video. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, let's do like some kind of music video for one of the songs off the demo to kind of promote the Relapse thing. And he's like, I can't remember, Doug, crap, I can't think of his last name. I feel bad now. Well, he directed all of the Control Denied and a couple of the last Death videos. And he did our stuff as well, that Prolong the Agony video. And basically, I went down to some dude's basement in Chicago behind a black painted wall and just, just kind of sang the thing. And it was, I haven't even heard the song besides we just went in the studio and remastered it. Otherwise, I have not played it. I don't even know how, I couldn't remember the lyrics. So I'm sitting here and the camera guy's going, go. And I'm like, go? Where the hell am I going? He goes, start the song starts. I'm like, I don't know what to do. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm a guitar player singer. I'm like, I've never just sang before. He goes, just do something. I'm like, what? He's like, I don't care. Bang your head, mosh around, throw yourself on the floor. I'm like, okay. So I just started doing the just weird kind of corpse grinder head banging thing. And I was like, then I'm mouthing the lyrics and all that stuff. And, 2 hours later, okay, yeah, you're done. I did the song 8 fucking times. All right, you're done. Get out. And that's because a lot of people say to me, well, how come the band wasn't involved? And I said, because there was no band at the time. Morta Skuld wasn't even back together. So when the video came out, that's when I started talking to Jeff. And I was like, hey, let's talk to Jason and Kevin and, let's see what we can do. And basically at that point, probably about 2012-ish, and all 4 of us came together and we did like a handful of local shows, just doing the demo portion stuff. So that kind of is where it started. And then of course later came the EP and then the album.
And so last year you released the full-length album off of Peaceville Records called Wounds Deeper Than Time. So what was it like writing and recording this album after 20 years in between full-length albums, Dave?
Well, I guess I jump back a little bit for me, and we did an EP. So the lineup of the demo lineup again had gone away. Guys were like, hey, I don't want to do this forever. I'm out, whatever. So then again, it was me again and Jason. We're like, well, what are we going to do? We found a couple new members. Eric House, Jungle Rot, or formerly a Jungle Rot. So he got added to the band, and then we looked for another guitar player. And at that point, kind of the reason why the demo lineup went away is I and Jason wanted to start writing. And they were like, nah, we're cool with just doing the demo stuff. So that's kind of where it kind of separated. So when we got these new guys, we're like, hey, we're going to start writing some new material. So that led up to us writing and recording our own EP, which is on Dread Records, Serving Two Masters. So that, I feel, kind of broke us in for leading up to the Wounds Deeper Than Time. But writing it, same, you say 20 years, yeah, it's still a different mindset. I mean, we had kind of broken ourselves in with the EP, but then now we're going, okay, the EP's done. Where do we go? Where do we go now? So the process was, it's like anything else. I wanted to keep it organic, and I wanted to keep it between the band and, just like back in the day when Metallica said what they did and Slayer and we sat in a room and we just hashed around riffs, and we threw stuff together and, took stuff home, came back together and, hey, let's change this. Let's do that. I always try to keep it a band effort, and whoever wants to write can write, and whoever doesn't want to doesn't have to. But I try to keep it open for everybody to kind of put their own 2 cents on the song, if that makes sense.
So tell everybody what the lineup is of the band now, Dave.
Eric House on drums, AJ Lewandowski on bass, Scott Willicke on guitars, and then myself on guitar and vocals. So I know Eric, this year Eric will be in the band 5 years. So he's been in the band the longest.
And so now the album's been out a little over a year now. So tell us a little bit about, the subject matters and lyrical themes that this album deals with, Dave. Sure.
Well, we were the Wounds Deeper Than Time, actually, and I normally title the albums, I title the songs, I write the lyrics, that type of thing. This one I didn't. Eric actually came up with it. I don't know. We were just down in the basement one day, and before practice, he goes, "Hey, I got this title. I wanted to run it past you." And I was like, "Yeah, what is it?" And he's like, "Wounds Deeper Than Time." And I was like, "Oh my God, that really fits," because the stuff, like you were saying, the lyrical content and stuff. I wrote this album. Everything I write is from a personal point of view to begin with. Mm-hmm. I have to write about what I know. I can't write about what I don't know or I can't see. So I have to write about things that I'm going through. And the one thing I notice us as human beings is we all understand pain, we all understand suffering, and we all understand sorrow. And everybody can relate with that. And I think in parts of this album, I was trying to exercise some of my own demons or some of my own, issues, and I didn't know how to quite get it out. But for me, when I feel a certain way and then you write a lyric line, it kind of represents that feeling. So I was trying to write a lot of different lyrics, I think, that people could associate with feeling. So, I know a lot of bands might write gore or science fiction or whatever. And I was like, I want to write reality. Very similar to Chuck Schuldiner. He always wrote, more with, his mind into it, so to speak, and everyday things that were going on in his life. So I channeled that a long time ago. Eric and I would sit around and we talk about stuff, and he's like, write about what you know about what, not what about you don't know. Because way back in the day, it was like, I got to write about Satan. And he would come up to me and he would go, what do you know about Satan? And I was like, he's bad, and he'd be like, here's a satanic Bible. I want you to read it. And I was like, what? I hate to read. I hate to read. Like, shit, I got to read. So, I read through some of it, and I kind of felt like it was I felt like it was the anti-Bible, basically. It was just like the Bible, but they just inserted different words, So I was like, whatever. But then he just kind of got my head going, and I thought, well, what can I write about, dude? Like I said, my childhood was not the greatest, and I was like, I got to channel some of that. You know what I'm saying? I got to channel some of that because I always like to write lyrics with a dual meaning, and whatever you get out of them, you get out of them. You know what I'm saying? I may have written them in a different aspect or frame of mind, but that doesn't mean if you or somebody else listens or interprets to them a different way that's wrong, because it's not. And, when people come up to me and they were like, Wounds Deeper Than Time, oh my God. So really the album is just that, Wounds Deeper Than Time. They say that, what is it? Time heals all wounds. And I'm like, well, no, it doesn't sometimes. So hence Wounds Deeper Than Time. So sometimes no, wounds can last forever. You just have to learn how to deal with it. And me, I just kind of channeled some of that stuff. I was like, man, that's kind of a pretty dark time in my life. Well, let's see if we can channel it into the music. And maybe it might inspire somebody else that might be going through a hard time. And then, they might be going, hey, I can relate with Dave on this one.
And Dave, with this new lineup on the new album, how would you say that this album compares to past albums? What are the similarities as well as the differences? Because now you have new people that have different styles and all that kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I feel the album, this new album represents the new lineup, but I still feel it maintains the Morta Skuld sound. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not only me vocally, obviously, but just the guitar tone I feel like I've kind of had over the years. I mean, obviously, the guitar tone I have today is different than it was 20 years ago. But however, it's still me playing. And that's why a lot of people, you can give me and another guy the same guitar, and it might sound different for both of us because our hands are different, feel is different. So I just feel like this album, even though it is new and they're all new songs, I still feel it has that Morta Skuld signature, let's put it that way. So it has a Morta Skuld signature. I feel like this album should have came right after Surface, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I feel it's a great predecessor to that. I feel like it come right after it. I think it fits perfectly. And even the production. The production's clean, and that was one thing on Surface that we wanted to do. We wanted to write 8 tracks that were heavy, but yet clear. But clear so you could hear the guitars and hear the voicing, and you know what I mean? I know some bands are cool with, like that Entomb, that real grungy, and that's great. Everybody has their own thing. For us, we wanted to be clean, and like Malevolent kind of inspired us in that aspect for that cleanness. But regardless of that, I really think it stands the test of time to Surface. And it is it's not so much different than the other two, the As Humanity Fades and For All Eternity. It's not much different. It is much different from the first album. And that's where Wounds differs from Dying Remains. Dying Remains, we were young, we were just starting out, and we wanted to sound like all the bands that we loved, Bull Thrower and, Grave and Entombed and, Paradise Lost. So we wanted to sound like that. So that album has kind of a little bit more of a European feel. Mm-hmm. And it's not like super produced either. It's not like super horribly produced. It's like right in that mid-ground. And, what's weird is that all the shows we do, the Dying Remains and Wounds Deeper in Time, those are like our 2 best sellers. Like every time we go there, like people just buy them all. And it's just like, so the other 2 albums sell, but just not as much, and it's kind of really weird. Even Surface, I think the last show we sold quite a bit of Surface, so that album's starting to kind of get a little peak. And see, that album came out and didn't really get much exposure. So now that people have a chance to get it now, especially with the fantastic layout and, the distribution, but I digress. I think Wounds is definitely just a really good album, and I think it fits in with the rest of them, even the first one. I think it just shows the progression of the band.
So I was going to just say, how would you say that Morta Skuld has evolved and progressed over the years?
Well, the first album, like I said, again, has that European feel, mm-hmm. Not very technical, not very flashy. And there was a break between me and the 3 members, actually, between Dying Remains and As Humanity Fades. And I kind of went my way, they went their way. They tuned up to D standard, like Death. They tuned up, and they, like Malevolent, they wanted that heavier, bitier sound. And they had wrote like almost a whole album without me. And I went on my own, and I was writing something with this other lineup. And kind of at the same time, both of the lineups kind of went away, and we both came back together. And they're like, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is how we're tuned. And I'm like, oh, man, that's kind of not the vision, I had wanted for it. But needless to say, we tuned up, and then hence the next 1, 2, 3. So the next 3 albums were actually written with that standard tuning, and that more clear production.
And in the band, Dave, what was your most memorable good moment?
Oh wow, that's hard. It's hard because I know some guys are going to relate to this, but when you run the band and you manage the band and everything, it's very few and far between because you're always in either band mode or business mode. Mm-hmm. But I would honestly have to say, out of all my years, and I'm not saying I didn't have a blast doing Slayer, but the California Death Fest was unfucking believable for me. I just had the best time. I actually felt like I let loose for once and was just able to just be a musician for the day. And it was a good feeling. And they run that show so professional and just treated us so well. I still, not that Maryland was horrible. Maryland was great too. But California, me personally, from a personal standpoint, I just had a blast. That whole weekend we were there was just amazing.
And so what is the band currently up to, Dave?
Well, right now we have we're doing a couple of local shows here to finish out the year, and then we're in the middle of writing, and we're going to continue writing. And then next year's it's a pretty exciting year for us because it's our first time overseas in Europe and our first appearance at the Netherlands Death Fest.
Wow!
So yes, we're really stoked for that. Evan is awesome over there, dude. Mm-hmm. He treats us real well, and he just he did our tour for us. Oh man, he just does a great job, and we're very stoked. So that's our very first appearance. And then a few months down the road, we're actually going to be going to the Czech Republic for the Symbolic Open Air Fest.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, I have nothing after that. We're hoping to be done with the album. I'm hoping by the time we go over to the Netherlands, I'm hoping the album we have done written. And then probably we'll come home, and then it's either we're going to look to record the album, or we just had another offer from a European booking agent to come over and I think do a week or two over there. Nice. So again, that would be awesome. So, so it's kind of in between those two, but not a whole lot, but hey, enough. I will take it. I'm very blessed, and I appreciate people like yourself and Evan and just everybody out there, and and more importantly, the fans. Just thank you. I mean, when they come up to me and they, oh my God, I'm just like, dude, and I shake, and you can ask anybody. You buy something from me or you come to me, I shake your hand and I thank you. And I do that for everybody. And that's because, we're not Metallica, we're not Slayer, we're a low-level band, but we have awesome fans that have, blessed us with this longevity to do this. So I appreciate everything you do too, because metal is so important to all of us.
And if people want to learn more about the band, Dave, what's the best sites to go to check you guys out?
Probably just look us up on Facebook. That's where everything's pretty much. I don't try to do the whole Twitter and Twitter and all this other stuff. I don't know. I know some people say I should, but it's just, I don't know. I think, Facebook's been a pretty good medium for us right now. We do have a Reverb Nation page, so they can go and check that out too. I think there's 2 or 3 songs up they can check out, or even YouTube. I mean, our bass player is Cannibalistic Zombie is his site. So he's got, I know, dude, that guy is amazing. He does these bass covers of Decrepit Birth, and he toured with Decrepit Birth, but he do all these bands their bass videos, and they're just amazing. And we go places, and he's got his own little fan club, so it's pretty cool. But we have videos posted there, or if they want, YouTube us and just Morta Skuld Live. I think a couple of the tour date shows are up there. I know California Death Fest is up, Maryland's up there, so a lot of different shows that we've done you can see live and stuff like that, and just come by the page and give us a like or drop us a message. I'm always corresponding with people, and that's probably the best. And then they can email me right directly from them, or if they want to email me, it's mortaman1@gmail.com. I mean, anybody needs me, I'm there.
And one last thing, Dave, Repulsive Echoes Records is giving away a copy of your release, Surface, tonight. So what's your favorite song off of that CD?
Costas. Oh, Costas. I'm I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, he did a good job, dude. Yeah, he rode me like a monkey for this one, man. You ask him, dude. He'll tell you. He was riding me for like a year. We got to get this, we got to get that, and I'm like, dude, I can't do it anymore. I'm driving as fast as we can. No, it's just he really wanted it to be super. The best it could be, and you know what? It is a fantastic layout. He did, him and the people that helped him did a great job. So thank you for that. But you're asking me what my favorite track is?
Yes, and that's what we're going to end tonight's show with.
Oh man, that's hard to say. Oh, crap. Let me think here. I'm gonna say Killing Machines. Because we play it in the set a lot, but it's one of my favorites off of that one. So,
all right, so we're gonna end the show with Killing Machines off of Surface, and then after we're done and the song plays, we'll give a copy of that away to somebody in our chat room. And there you guys have it, Dave Gregor of Morta Skuld. And Dave, thank you for coming on the show to talk about the band, tell us what's going on, and all the best to you. And have a great time over there in the Netherlands at the Death Fest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.